Okay. So as I told, pick up one, install one VM in the Azure, install another VM also, make one VM as a domain controller, another VM on another VM, install Entra ID Connect, and then see how to configure. There are many videos. You just simply go and search for how to configure Entra ID, all that Entra ID Connect. You will get videos. You simply follow those videos and try to configure. Okay. First use case is kind of done, where you have organizations use Entra ID for on-premises authentication, and Entra ID will be used for the cloud applications. So usually most of the companies will have this hybrid environment. So you are building an authentication mechanism for both Entra ID, I mean cloud and the on-premises. Okay, this is done. In this one, there are concepts. There are some concepts you might have heard about it, like password hash authentication and pass-through authentication. Okay, so while you are configuring Entra ID, try to configure one of these: password hash authentication, pass-through authentication. It is called password hash or pass-through authentication. So what happens if there is one small company, let's say 200 or 200, let's say 1,000 employees company, and they are using some on-premises workloads. They have some servers, database servers or production servers, whatever, and they have some cloud applications also there. So now what you did, you have installed Active Directory for on-premises applications authentication, and you are using Entra ID for the cloud applications. And how is the sync happening? You are configuring Entra ID Connect between them. And then how is the authentication happening? Authentication happens in two ways. In fact, there is third way also, that is ADFS, but it is considered in a complex scenarios. Let's say very big companies like Infosys, or companies where there are maybe more than 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 employees, or they usually have multiple clouds and multiple environments. They will not have one AD environment. They might be acquiring new companies and all that. So basically, their Active Directory environment will be is um, complex. In those scenarios only, they will use ADFS. Okay. So starting with, don't focus on ADFS. Focus on the PTA, password through authentication, password hash authentication. And while you are doing this, get deeper into this. What exactly password hash authentication will do? What exactly pass through authentication will do? What is the difference between these two? Why one is preferred over other? Maybe there are some situations where, because of the company requirements, password hash is used. In some companies, because of their requirements, pass-through authentication is used. So what is the benefits or benefits of this? What are the benefits of that? What are the disadvantage of this? So you have that understanding. So now what you have gained? You have gained knowledge on how to implement something, and also you have understood the difference. In future, if there is a requirement, you will be able to do it. Maybe you cannot do it right away, but since you have the knowledge, you take some resources from the Microsoft documentation and you try to build something. Okay, and then when probably just understand about ADFS also, if you go to interviews, they might ask you what is the difference between PTA, password pass through authentication, and ADFS also, because both look same. Because in both of them, authentication happens from the on premises, from the AD. Pass through authentication, what happens in the cloud environment, from any cloud app? If someone is authenticating, Entra ID will not authenticate. It will pass that authentication to Active Directory. That is why it is called pass through authentication. Okay, but in the password hash, what happens? So you created an account in Active Directory. Obviously you would create the account with the password, right? So when account is syncing to cloud, the password also synced. Password also will be copied, synced to Entra ID. And when you configure password hash, when a application authentication is happening, authentication will happen mm, uh, with the Entra ID. That means Entra ID itself will take care of the authentication. It will not pass the authentication request to Active Directory. Okay, so understand these three differences: password hash, pass-through authentication, why ADFS is needed, and again ADFS and pass-through authentication both look similar. What is the difference? In which scenarios you should use ADFS? This much you understand. You don't get so deeper into ADFS at this moment. Okay, you can say to the people that I have worked in the environment where ADFS is not needed, because the environments I worked are not so complex. You can say, since we are starting, so you don't aim for some complex environment. It's okay. So what with the small environment, simple environment only, whatever solutions you can do, whatever problems you can solve, that if you are able to uh, showcase, then you will be hired. How much experience you have? 10 years or how much? 16. Okay, 15. But still okay. Still okay. So you can say that I have worked worked in the projects where I did not get chance to do the ADFS, but if there is opportunity, I will be able to do. But later you may try to. You can say that I have understood, learned the concepts, but since I have not worked, I'll not be able to do it. But maybe for the interview in the JD, if ADFS part is there, you just try to read and understand about the concepts, and in the interview you can talk about it. You can say that though I haven't implemented, but I know what is it, what are the components of ADFS, how it works, all that I know. You can explain in the call. So in that case also, even though they have ADFS in the JD and you haven't worked on ADFS, but you have knowledge, they will consider. Okay, this is one part. In the IAM terminologies, this is called authentication part. Okay. So far we talked about authentication, how authentication happens in the on-premises, how authentication happens in the Entra ID cloud. So in the hybrid environment, what are the methods of authentication? Different methods of authentication that we talked. Okay. This is the authentication. Okay. So next thing is in the next what comes into the, what is the other thing that is useful in, or what is the other thing organizations are using in the Entra ID apart from the hybrid environment, is the this enterprise applications. You might have seen, right, enterprise applications. Let me share my screen also. So you might have seen it already, but when we talk while I'm sharing my screen, that makes more sense to you. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Hmm. Okay. Are you able to see Entra ID? Sorry, portal. You can see, right? See here, when you come here, enterprise applications. This is another one most widely used. Okay, so why this is needed? See, this is needed. See, you have in organizations, they will use multiple applications, right? They will use ServiceNow, they will use Jira, Office 365. Office 365, you don't have to do anything because it is a Microsoft product. The integration and everything will be done. But apart from Microsoft products, like ServiceNow is one product, or for HR purposes, SAP will be used, or any other applications are used. So usually every application will have its own authentication methodology, though it is not that efficient as Active Directory or the Entra ID. They will have their own basic authentication. So if they only go with that basic authentication method, whatever the application they have, let's say We are talking about the service now, right? So when the company takes service now SaaS application, let's say they have 100 200 users, they can create that 100 200 users in the service now. They can give a password to every user, and they can ask the users to log in and do your work. That is the basic thing. But for a user, remembering ServiceNow password, remembering Active Directory password, let's say I gave an example of ServiceNow, but you will have many other applications. So let's say take small company only, but you have 10 applications. So for a user, remembering that 10 applications username and password will be difficult. So that is why what we are doing, all those 10 applications, we will integrate into these enterprise applications. Okay. Once you integrate here, what happens? The, let's say, ServiceNow application, it will not do authentication on its own. It will pass that authentication request to Entra ID. Okay. So this is called single sign-on. So another use case most widely used is the SSO. So you have to master the SSO also, apart from the hybrid environment and Entra ID connect and configuration of Entra ID and all, or whatever we have configured, we have discussed. You also have to get mastered on this area, enterprise applications. Okay, so this is my one of my environment. I did not do many configurations here, but in another tenant I have did many what you say integrated many applications. Let's see if I am able to log into that. uh, I may be able to show you whatever I have done. Okay, you understood, right? Concept, enterprise application. So this is the another area you need to focus. Again, if you go to YouTube and try to learn, there will be many resources, but don't only focus on just learning the concept and practical, but try to see like with this what problem I'm solving. So we discussed, right, what problem we are solving with SSO. User doesn't have to remember all the passwords. With one single account and password, he will be able to um, log in, log into all the applications. Okay, that is this is another problem we are solving. Okay, the question you asked is, I don't have a ServiceNow application or any other application. How do I configure it? So every SaaS application, if not every SaaS applications, there are some SaaS application they will give you 14-day trial or 30-day trial. Okay, so you take that. Okay, so your question is how do I get access, right? See, let's say I have already done some configurations into my other tenant. I was trying to log in, right? But it is taking some time. So there, what I did, I have taken Salesforce. Salesforce has, I think, 30 days or 14 days trial. Okay, you need to log in like how you register to other cloud applications or something. You need to log in, and you need to take that 14 days or 30 days trial. And I have also tried something like Zoho application, Zoho also. So I tried with these two. Even you can try this with the AWS. AWS is another cloud provider, right? So for the AWS also, you don't need to use AWS account. With the Entra ID account itself, you can log in. That kind of SSO you can configure. Okay. So take two, three, maybe you just take one first. You will understand what are the steps needed, all that. Okay. So I will not explain the detail, but yeah, you need to actually click on your application, and there are some settings. In fact, whatever I have done, I have recorded and posted into my YouTube. I will give you those links also. It will help you step by step also. So this is one thing. So with this, you are achieving the SSO. This is one use case you can kind of master. Okay. So in this also there are few more things in the enterprise applications only itself. It's not just about SSO. There are other features also you can use with the enterprise applications. That is like is this okay? Let me see. It will show you if I do this. So like this, you can use AWS itself. You don't have to use any other. You can configure same to AWS. There are two more things you can do. Something like provisioning also. There is another thing like provision. It will all take time. I will not do this all. So one thing is SSO. Another thing is provisioning. So provisioning as again, see when what happens is, see all the applications, uh, as I told, right, they will have their um, own accounts, right? Yeah, accounts authentication, and obviously they will have own accounts. So when you configure SSO, what happens is in the background, whatever, let's say here I have 32 users, right? I have created 32 users into my tenant. Okay, so if I configure SSO, it will create. We have to create these 32 users also in the applications. That is a requirement. That means they should have the account, just the account name, nothing else is needed. Their side, just one unique ID. Let's say user principal name is there. With this user principal name, there should be account in the applications. Let's say ServiceNow or AWS or Salesforce. So for all those applications, whatever applications you are configuring here, configuring SSO, they need account. Okay. So again, you are configuring SSO file. Users will have that SSO experience. They don't have to install the account. Sorry, they don't have to remember all the accounts and passwords. But now you have another problem. So you have 10 applications. In all the 10 applications, you have to create all these accounts, right? In future also, if any new account is created in the Active Directory or Entra ID, again you have to go and create into multiple applications. This is a problem. This is an administrative problem, right? Okay, so to avoid this, provisioning is there. So you can configure provisioning. This is also called SCIM provisioning, SCIM. Remember this terminologies also in the interviews also they will ask SCIM, SCIM, SCIM. So when you use SCIM provisioning, when you configure SCIM provisioning, let's say in any account created in Active Directory or Entra ID, the account will be automatically created into all the connected applications. You have 10 applications. In all the 10 applications, this account will be created. So what is happening now? Any new user that he is logging in, his account will be created in all the applications and he will be able to log into that application also. Provided you give a permissions and all that, that is a different thing. But uh, he will be able to do that. This is another provisioning thing. So this is also much useful in the organizations because we are seeing, right, company has 10 applications, but if user has to get access to application, we need to create an account into 10 applications, which is not possible. It is difficult, and there is also pro- chance of errors. One account, people, admins may forget creating it. Okay, so there are many such problems will be there. Manual errors will be there, all that. So all these problems are solved by the scheme provision. Try that scheme provisioning also. I have a video on that also. What I have did it, I have used AWS where I have created used scheme provisioning and configured that auto provisioning. If a user created an Entra ID, it will also get created into AWS. Okay, this is another problem. Hmm. No, SSPR is different. SSPR is hmm, 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 hmm. No. For every application, you need to enable. Say, I'm configuring scheme for AWS between Entra ID and AWS. That will be taken care on the AWS. But if the service now is there, you need to configure scheme for service now also. Let's say you have 10 applications. You have to configure scheme provisioning the 10. Like you are configuring SSO for all the 10 applications. You configure scheme for all the 10 applications, provisioning for all the 10 applications. Okay. In the single sign-on also, there is another thing. See, in the single sign-on, you would have this. What is that? Protocols. There are three protocols in the SSO also. So you need to understand those three also. Those are I tried. It will be similar, but it will have little more steps compared to enterprise SAML authentication. It will have more steps, but it is fine. Like for example, simply go ahead and search in the internet or Microsoft search. For practice purpose, they will give you something. I think Graph API is something you can do it. I have done SailPoint also as a created a OAuth authentication, but there will be very simple applications that you can do. That in fact for that also I have recorded one video. You can just see and understand. Okay, okay. So now we covered authentication, authorization also. And in the authorization also, we have seen where we use enterprise applications, where we use app registrations. Okay, so there is another concept. Is it is little bit either I would say advanced or it is not that widely used with the Microsoft. Uh, that is your LCM, life cycle management. Okay, so usually the sale point is the market leader in the life cycle management, but maybe as I told, don't focus on that immediately. First focus on all these things that we are discussing. Later you can go, you can check. So that LCM also you can do with the enterprise applications. Okay, that we will come back later, but let me first let's cover the important things or the most widely used features of Entra ID. So this we have covered this, and another important feature that is used with the Entra ID is the PIM, Privileged Identity Management. Okay, so in the privileged identity management, what happens? See, privileged accounts are something attackers will, if they gain access to privileged accounts, they can do a big damage because privileged admins will have access to enterprise applications, admin servers, or they would have admin level access. So if they get access to that account, they can do something in the servers or applications. Okay, so you need to protect that protect that privileged identity. So PIM, privileged identity management, is another feature which is mostly used with the Entra ID. So there, Yeah, that exactly, exactly. So just see how to implement that. Again, take some two, three admin accounts and see whatever the feature it is Microsoft PIM is providing. Try to implement that. Again, for all the things that I'm talking, you will find some nice videos. Someone would implement it end to end. You simply understand the concept, then try to follow those videos and try to implement. You don't have to kind of go through all the documents and understand how to do. Simply use YouTube videos. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then that will. So you maybe you just have to kind of brush up. Okay. That is another thing. Then you were talking about SSPR. SSPR also one important feature where you can enable users to reset password or have password reset or account unlock the account. That is one thing you can say how to configure SSPR. That also you do that practice with the SSPR also. And what else is there? Mm, yeah, and then conditional access. Conditional access is the one which is most widely used and it is kind of a very little vast subject than other subjects that we have discussed. So take some scenarios again. Conditional access in how to configure conditional access and what are the scenarios. Let's say there is one for one company uh, there is from one location you are getting lot of brute force attacks and from some one IP range you are getting lot of uh, what you say brute force attacks or the attackers are trying to access your environment. So then you can block that particular IP range. Okay. For that you can use conditional access. This is one use case. And you can kind of using conditional access, you can also configure MFA. Let's say uh, let's say there is a in fact if you want to use multi-factor authentication, if you want to configure multi-factor authentication you should use conditional access. That is the recommended way of doing. So you practice conditional access. And another thing I just mentioned, multi-factor authentication is also another important factor feature in the Entra ID. So understand about multi-factor authentication, how to configure multi-factor authentication. And in the multi-factor authentication also recently there are many new kind of MFAs methods are available. Understand all those different methods and try to configure whichever is possible. All of them are not possible, but whatever is easy, try to configure. Okay, then try to understand these roles and admins, role-based access control. Okay, in a real-world environment, see you need to create one role-based model, role-based access model in the organization because let's say there is a SQL team. In the SQL team, you have L1 engineers, you have L2 engineers, and you have architects. So you have to create different types of roles. You have to create one database L1 analyst, database L2 analyst, database architect. So these three kind of roles you are creating. For those three roles, you have to give them the relevant access. For L1, you will only give read-only access. For L2, you will give some configuration changes access, but not completely on the database server or something, right? For the architect, we will give entire access on the database level or database server. So you have to create these kind of roles. Okay, roles in the entire nothing but a group only. You will create one group. Let's say you will create a group for SQL L1 admin. You will create a group for SQL L2 admin, and for L1 admin, you will assign some permissions. L2 admin, you will assign some permissions. L3 or architect, you will assign some permissions. Okay, understand about those roles and admins also. And what else we have? Yeah, as I was saying, identity protection, identity governance, these are the identity governance is something you will get it in the premium license. These are the advanced concepts. You definitely go through them and try to understand. But whatever the concepts now we discussed are the basic things, are most widely used things. Identity protection is something very good feature, but once you complete whatever we have discussed, once you gained practical exposure on this one in your lab, then you kind of you came to one good position. You were able to understand, demonstrate something, and you are able to solve some problems. You are able to kind of configure MFA, or you are able to use conditional access to solve some problems, and whatever we have discussed, enterprise applications, all that. Once you get some good understanding, good hold on all those things, then you can come and see the Entra ID protection also. So there are some concepts in the Entra ID. Identity governance is also there. I told, right, life cycle management, that comes under here, life cycle workflow, life cycle management. So I'll just quickly give you, yeah, privileged identity management is also part of identity governance. Okay, I'll quickly give you what are understanding on what are those. See, life cycle management is something. Let's say for a bigger organization, if an employee joins, let's say maybe on a day hundreds of employees may join, on a particular day thousands of employees may join. So manually creating accounts to all those users, and once after the creation also, if user may be changing his department, he may be getting promoted. In the bigger organization, this will happen day to day. If there's 20, 30, or 200, maybe one person will be promoted in a month, or in a year, 2 3 persons may be promoted. But in the bigger organizations, it is kind of a daily or weekly it will happen. So tracking all those things is difficult. And also leaving people who are leaving, if that person leaves, you need to disable his account. Okay, and again doing that all manual is also difficult. So all this process, automating all this process is nothing but a life cycle management, life cycle. So using this feature, what you will do in the HR, if HR application, if HR creates an account in the HR application, his account will be automatically created into the your active directory. And then since we have created all other provisioning, right, to other applications, that will take care of the creation of applications into all other connected applications. And also when user changes his department or gets promoted, whatever the rights are needed, access is needed, that is also automated using the lifecycle management. And if a user leaves, his ID will be automatically disabled. So all the users identity lifecycle is managed with this. That's what lifecycle management is all about. And then, not in Entra ID. I have tried this in the sale point, but not in Entra ID. But concept will be kind of similar. Okay, this is one thing. And then access reviews is something. Let's say in your organization, again in the bigger organization, this will be a problem. Let's say a person have access today. After 6 months or 7 months, he may not need the access. But after 6 months you don't need access, but you are still having keeping that access, it is a kind of risk, right? And either attacker may misuse it, or the user itself misuse. This is called internal risk. He may misuse, right? So to avoid that, this access reviews, you every 6 months or 3 months, you review the access, whether this person needs access or not. If doesn't need, revoke it. This is the process. uh, this is the process taken. This process is taken care by the access review. Okay, so these are some little advanced concepts. Then risky users and all this from the identity protection. Like this risky user is something like if a user is compromised, his password is compromised, someone has cracked his password and is trying to log in, attacker is trying to log in with that password, that user is a risky user. So this particular feature will identify if any risky users are there, then it will notify. Then based on that, admin can take action. Okay, so there are some more features, but I will not get into deeper. First, you may focus on the things that we whatever we have discussed. Then you can come back and we will have a discussion. Now, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Okay. So all these things, you don't worry. All these things, if you carefully search in YouTube, you will find some nice video explaining step by step process. Simply, simply follow that video to understand. Once you have followed that video and you have configured, if you want to do it again to get hands on, you can do it again to understand. So, yeah. Watch the videos 2 or 3 times. Fourth time, try yourself. Okay. So I'll just summarize. You focus on Entra ID Connect, and in the Entra ID Connect, what are the different types of authentication modes? Pass-through authentication, password hash authentication. Okay, so these three things, and then you try configuring MFA also, multi-factor authentication, and try to use conditional access also. Then you try to configure SSO. SSO is another concept. SSO also, and provisioning is another thing. And what else we discussed? PIM. Enterprise applications is nothing but using enterprise applications, you can configure SSO, all that. Privileged identity management. Privileged identity management also. So these things you first focus. Later, once you get good hold of it, you can try other things. But if you are kind of able to do demonstrate on these things also, you are still far better. You are employable in the market. Companies will be able to grab you because you are able to do something, right? You don't have to be expert of entire ID product. It's not required. It is not required. Okay, so start with this. Once you get into roles, entry ID, admin roles, and if there is a requirement where company wants entitled management, company wants access reviews, that you can master those areas and you can try. Okay, before also if you do, that's okay, no problem. But having the basic things, whatever we have discussed, is important. That will help you getting the job. Okay, fine. Anything else? Okay, okay. So don't worry if you want like not just this discussion. If you want another discussion also, if you want me to help in some configuration or something, whatever it is, if you want to have continuous discussion, let's say after a week or after 10 days, you want to have half an hour discussion on one particular concept, I'm happy to discuss. Uh, One thing is I'll be able to help you, and also I will get my knowledge refreshed in this process. So I'm open to have the discussions. Okay. Mm. Mm. Okay. Okay. Fine. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Okay. Yeah. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Yeah. I'm sharing. I'm sharing. Actually, the one I'm recording now, that also I'll share you. And I'll share you my YouTube channel. I mean, also that my YouTube account also, not a particular channel or something, where I have whatever I have uploaded for my future reference. So I will share you. You go through all my videos and see whatever you feel you can use it. You can use it.